guys, this is me again. It's Jolanda, and I'm coming to you with episode. Let's see, what episode is this? This is episode, you guys know I have my notes. I'm trying to recap, chit chat with you all. This is the chit chat recap for This Is Us, episode 17, and the title of this episode is What Now? It's late afternoon, the sun's doing some weird stuff, so hopefully it won't be too distracting, but let me start with this. Standing at the station, we don't know what to say. Looking out the window as you're rolling away. If I'm gonna be alone, let it be with you. How you guys like that? When I heard him singing that at the beginning of the episode, I was like, I'm going to try to sing that for the beginning of my recap. So hope you enjoyed that. I think that song is super beautiful. And I don't know about you all, but I missed William something terrible this episode. I was just grieving and mourning. It just felt like something was missing. But I really feel like this episode 17 was kind of, it was a calm before the storm, or kind of like, we're going to put you here in the waiting room, but you better be ready for next week, because next week's the finale, and I just already know I'm going to be a hot mess. But this was a great episode. I think that there were a lot of, like I said, introduced a lot of interesting, what do I want to say? It just introduced a lot of plot twists that I think are going to be further developed in the next episode. So let me just get right into it. So we start off, the song is playing. It's a flashback to when William's preparing for leaving for Memphis, like he did last episode, and he put something under, I think it's Annie's room that he's been staying in, so I think he put something under her pillow. Then we cut to present time, and Randall is kind of cleaning up his room, or Annie's room, and preparing it pretty much probably for Annie to move back into the room. And Beth comes in, she tells him she doesn't have to worry about picking up. And then Randall starts to talk to her about, how can I honor his legacy? What can I do? Should I change my glasses? Should I start to wear some circular glasses? Should I, do something? He's like, William was like the cool hipster, how can I be more like him? How can I honor him? And so that's kind of a question that's left lingering. Beth happens to look underneath a pillow, and she pulls out this letter. It's from William. We cut to Kevin and Sophie, and they're discussing how Kevin, how he rushed out on his opening night, and he basically left the audience hanging. And so we didn't see anything about that last episode. So now we're starting to figure out what was the aftermath, or what happened as a result of him not showing up for opening night. So Kevin, he's getting a pep talk from Sophie. They're talking about when they're going to reveal their relationship to the family. They're talking about how a critic named Novak, I think his name was, Kevin missed him being there at the opening. So he missed the critics' review. And there's just a lot of discussion about how can he get that critic to come back and review a show. And she said, hey, if you can win your ex-wife over after you cheated on her, after you did this, that, and the other, this Novak should be no problem. So Kevin's recharged, and he feels like he can get it done. We flash to Randall. We cut over to Randall and his family, and they're talking to Annie and Tess, and they're basically telling him what the letter from William said. And the letter basically said he wanted Annie and Tess to be in charge of his memorial. He didn't want anything sad. He loved their smiles, and he wanted them to do something that would make them smile. Those were his two favorite smiles in the world. You guys, I was just like, oh, I want William to come back. I love me some William. I felt like one of the people. Anyhow, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. So Annie and Tess are, they're talking to each other like, yeah, we got this. We can do this. And so Randall says, well, I think I can, I should be able to do the eulogy. And Annie's like, eulogy sounds sad. And so he says, okay, well, let's call it a toast. So then we see Toby and Kate, and Toby is being typical Toby. He's alone. He says he's been waiting for time to be alone with his boo. Meanwhile, Kate is pretty stressed out. She's been given apparently some assignment from Tess and Annie to get rainbow colored balloons, and she's calling around to places to get these rainbow colored balloons, and people are giving her a hard time, and she's on like a short fuse. She's really getting upset. So she's trying to fulfill her assignment. Then we have a flashback. Rebecca's kind of pacing at home, looking at the clock, wondering where Jack is. And she's like, come on, Jack, come on. So while she's doing that, we get the impression that they cut over to Jack at the office. It's 5:30. Miguel's reminding him that he needs to get home. Rebecca's going to be leaving for her tour. Jack is kind of like, oh, so I should just go home and wish her well while she runs off with, that dude that she used to have a relationship with. Miguel kind of tries to calm him down a little bit, and eventually he picks up his stuff. There's also the secretary, I don't know what her name is, but she came through, and she's just kind of, sorry, I'm trying to get the sunshine kind of, don't know how I'm going to do that, so bear with the sun. I'll scoot back a little bit. So she's just all kinds of inappropriate. You can just tell she's probably got something for Jack. Jack's kind of ignoring her though for the most part. So then we get to the house. Jack has gotten home. He's left the office, and Rebecca's still there. They're talking a little bit about what to do while she's away. She said, Sophie was nibbling on Kevin's ear. I thought this was a funny scene. They were saying, oh, and she said, don't use the word nibbling in reference to my son. But basically they're just like, ooh, Sophie was nibbling on those ears haven't seen Q-tips in years. And they're giggling. You can tell things are a little uncomfortable and awkward, but they're giggling together. They're really having fun kind of talking about Sophie and Kevin, but they're like, don't let them be by themselves. So they get to the door. Rebecca's leaving. She's, her ride is there, and Jack kind of gives her a half hug and is kind of like, bye. Rebecca walks out the door. Kate comes over and is like, Dad, and basically saying, you can do better than that in terms of saying goodbye to Mom. So Jack thinks about it, and he goes outside to say goodbye, to give Rebecca a proper goodbye, and she's already gone. Next, we're with Randall, and Randall's wanting to give a worthy toast, okay, for William, and he's thinking about it. He's thinking about what he might say, and Jesse calls, William's boyfriend, and Jesse talks about how a guy named Sebastian wanted to express his condolences, how William had gotten really close to Sebastian, how William had feigned an interest in football in order to make Sebastian feel comfortable at the AA meetings, and just Jesse is really, you can tell Jesse's taking it hard, which is to be expected because this was someone he cared deeply for. And he's talking to William, and Randall's kind of like, he's talking to Randall, and Randall's kind of like, William was pretending to like football, and they're just kind of laughing about that. And it was and I can't remember who said it. I think it was Jesse who said, William was a soft armrest for weary souls to lean on. I just thought that was so beautiful. And I believe that was Jesse who said that. A soft armrest for weary souls to lean on. It's just beautiful. Then we go to Kevin. Kevin's at Novak's office, that critic who he had missed on opening night, and basically the critic just reads him the riot act. He says, you know what, I know why you skipped out. You skipped out because you knew you were going to have a bunch of takes. You knew you weren't going to be able to start over. You're the Manny. You're not going to be anything more than that, and see ya. So then we go to Randall, and the mailman shows up at his door, and the mailman's bringing him a package. The package is from his office, but aside from the package that the mailman drops off for Randall, he begins to tell him how much he's going to miss William. And Randall's kind of like, I didn't even know you knew William. He said, yeah, I talked to him all the time when I was out on my walks. And, he'd ask about my daughter. And it was just showing Randall that William really took his time. William really got to know people. And he truly was a soft armrest for weary souls to lean on. So then we have a flashback to, so Randall's taking note of all this. We have a flashback to Jack, and he's dropping the kids off at some party or somewhere, and Kate asks him if he's all right, if him and mom are all right, and they have a conversation about that. He's like, yeah, because you could be there with her basically right now. He said she's 2 hours away, and Kate's kind of like, yeah, I know. And so they have this kind of connection, Kate and Jack do. It's a very strong connection. So she senses something's wrong, and she's really saying, hey, I noticed something's going on with you and mom, make it better, basically. So now we're with Rebecca and Miguel and Kate and Toby and then Randall, and they're all getting ready for the funeral, not funeral, the funeral. There's balloons, Tess and Annie have confetti, and they say we are going to act out William's perfect day. So they let the rainbow balloons go, and Kate's kind of like, what I went through to get those rainbow balloons, and you guys just let them sail out into the sky. So they're moving into the house. Then we have a flashback with Jack, and Jack is home by himself. I'm not sure if he was drinking at that point, but he grabs his keys and he heads to the bar where earlier they were having the retirement party he skipped out on to get home. So he goes back, and, I think that was the secretary had told him that they were going to be going to the bar later. That was going to be the real retirement party. How you're going to really turn up after you get out of the office. So he gets there to the bar, and everybody's there. And that's where the retirement party has started to continue. And then we get back to the funeral, and Beth is talking to Randall, and she's just kind of like, I loved him too. I never got to say goodbye. I never got my chance to say goodbye. She's showing him how she's already restocked all of his, she had already restocked all of his medication and everything. And I mean, you just felt for Beth. She was grieving, and everybody else got a chance to say goodbye except for me. And so she was really hurt about that. So Tess and Annie, they're back in the living room area, and they're serving Blue Hawaiian drinks. And they said William loved Blue Hawaiian, and Beth kind of explained like, well, actually, it wasn't the Blue Hawaiian drinks that he loved. It was the Blue Hawaiian strain of weed that he liked. But, I think they misunderstood. They overheard something and misunderstood. But, that's not something that you could explain to kids. And then they said William hummed. So there was just a lot of memories about William, things that he did. And Beth talks about how William hummed when he flossed, and how he liked personal hygiene, and how William danced, and how he was endearing, and he was a part of the fabric of the family. It was just beautiful that because she had expressed to Randall that she didn't get her chance to say goodbye, he said, Beth, you do the toast to William. And so she does that. And so then Kate leaves the party, and she's crying. Randall rushes outside. He comes to comfort her, and she says, I'm sorry that you had to go through this twice. You lost both of your dads, your bio dad, and now your biological father, but then also your father who raised you, who was Jack. And then Randall shares something that, I don't know about you guys, but my heart leaped. This is like my dream scene, and I definitely want to go back and watch this again because it was my dream scene, where Randall says he had a vision or a dream that William and Jack were together, and they are sitting on the sofa and they're chatting together. And oh my, I gotta go watch that scene again. I didn't write it down exactly what they said, but leave it in the comments section below, because you guys will probably have had a chance to watch it again a little bit slower than I did. But the exchange between the two of them, and they're laughing. And oh my gosh, I absolutely loved that. That scene was just perfection. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to go back and watch it again. Then there was a flashback of Jack at the bar. Again, this is the retirement party. And that redhead from the office, I said some redhead from the office is what I wrote in my notes. She comes over, and he's telling her, that Kate's in Cleveland, and then in Boston, and then in Trenton, and in Philly on her tour. And she kind of says to him, you have the look of someone when something breaks and you can't fix it. So basically she's saying, I kind of sense something's going on with you and your marriage, and I get a sense that you can't fix it. And next thing you know, she puts her hand on his leg, and I'm like, you know what, I was a little annoyed by her. But you know what? I had faith in Jack, and Jack's like, he's not having any of it. And he says something basically, don't embarrass yourself, girlfriend. Get your little hand, put it over there, and then we flash back to William's party. Everyone is wearing these little fedora hats, these little teeny tiny fedora hats like William, except Randall has actual William's fedora on, and they go out for a walk because you remember, this is William's perfect day. And Rebecca says, you came into this world, Rebecca's sharing with Randall, you came into this world pretty perfect, and I think you got it from William. She's basically saying to him, you were a great kid. We got you, we raised you, but you came into this world pretty perfect. And we think that that's because of William. I believe that's because of William that you came so perfect. She says that she was terrified to tell him. She explained, he's kind of tells her he doesn't really want to know, but she's like, no, I have to tell you. And she says, hey, I kept saying, on your 15th birthday, I'm going to tell you. On your 16th birthday, I'm going to tell you. But I was selfish and I was wrong, she confessed. And Randall says, she's like, I robbed you. Basically, she's saying, I robbed you of your time that you could have had with him. And Randall says to her, it was enough time. It was enough time. So we flash over to Kevin. He's in the dressing room. He's getting ready for the play. And so this, I guess, this is night number 2. And so he's getting dressed, and he calls to the ticket box, and he asks them, did Novak, the critic, did he pick up his ticket? And they say, no, not yet. And then Sophie shows up with a crutch. I'm like, what did I write? She shows up with this crutch. He basically break a leg. She works in a medical office, and so they, thought that was pretty funny. He does, we watch pieces of the play, a short piece of the play, and it looks like he's doing an excellent job. It ends, there's a standing ovation. The camera pans out into the audience. You can see all of the family. You can see Sophie. She sneaks out over in the corner. You see this empty chair in the middle where the critic was supposed to be sitting. Then we go to Randall and Beth, and I think the party, they're finishing, they finished the play and whatnot, and Randall says to her, and she says, hey, I gotta go pick up the kids, and he says, well, I'm going to go by the office. And let me just go back and just remind you that the mailman dropped off a box of pears and a typed card from the office with their condolences. That was what the mailman delivered when he had the conversation with Randall about William. So we're like, what's Randall gonna do when he gets to the office? And Beth had already kind of like, is that all? This is what you get after all these years of working and no vacation and I think she said you worked 3 years with no vacation, and this is how they acknowledge when you lose your father. And so we're kind of like, what's he gonna do when he goes to the office? And so she lets him go ahead and go, and he says, I got to stop by the office. So he says, no, they're going to be there. It's like 10 o'clock at night or something. He says, no, they'll be there. There's a tight deadline. They'll be there. No worries. I'm going. So he goes in there, and sure enough, they're all in that glass conference room. They're working hard on some big project, we're assuming. And his boss is in there, and he basically lets that boss know, look, I've given you guys 10 years. I basically built this company from scratch. I brought in 80% of the clients. I haven't taken a vacation. And how do you honor my father's legacy? You send me a box of pears. I'm allergic to pears. And a typed card. That's how you honor me. And he said, you know what? I've been trying to figure out how to honor my father's legacy. And I figured it out. I quit. And his boss says, well, what are you going to do? And he pauses for a minute and he says, maybe instead of running, I'll walk and talk to the mailman. I was like, you better tell him, Randall. It's like everybody's dream to be able to just walk into, if you've had bad work experience, to be able to walk into your office and be like, deuces, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, appreciate the paychecks. You've gotten enough out of me. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to do something different with my life. Next, we go to Sophie and Kevin. And she says, you broke the hell out of that leg, she says. And he says, I came to New York really to win back my girl. So while he got to New York and he definitely, got the play and everything, he's basically saying his main priority of coming back to New York was to win back his girl. And then the phone rings, and it is, that was pretty much the end of that scene. Then we flash over to Beth, and Beth and everybody, they're kind of gathering. People are leaving the funeral, and Beth picks up no, it wasn't the funeral. Anyway, she's in the lobby, in the foyer of the home, and the mail. She's checking out the mail, and there is a postcard there. She looks at the postcard, and it's the postcard from William. William had picked up a postcard when he was in Memphis. He wrote a note to Beth, and he says, in short, he says, my dearest Beth, the daughter that I never had. Y'all, they were close. They were very close. I think Beth probably spent more time with William than Randall did, at least in terms of what we could really glean from the episodes, because William worked so much. But Beth also worked, but you could tell they were tight. I remember the time they got high together. That cracked me up. I can't wait to go watch the whole season again. And then we're back with Kevin, and Kevin is in bed with Sophie. This is the part I almost said earlier. The phone rings, and it's Ron Howard. You guys remember Opie? Y'all remember Opie, right? Ron Howard calls, he's a big producer now, and he says he was at the play. Now, who knew he was at the play? He says, someone was visiting, and they insisted that they go to this play, his daughter or somebody. So they went, and he said he's shooting a movie in LA, and that Kevin would be perfect. The key is he's shooting a movie in Los Angeles, and Kevin would be perfect. And that ends that scene. What? Then we have Jack on a payphone, and Jack, he's outside of that bar, and Jack asks whoever's on the other end of the phone, can the kids spend the night? And then apparently, whoever's on the other end of the phone basically says, yeah, okay. Then we're with Toby and Kate, and Kate says to Toby that my dad's death, remember when I couldn't talk about it? Remember when da-da-da-da-da? Remember how you asked me blah, blah, blah? The reason why I can't talk about it is because my dad's death is my fault, she says. And then we flash back to Jack. And Jack is, they've put Kate on the phone where he called and asked if the kids could spend the night. And he says to Kate, I'm going to go fix things with your mom. And that's the way the episode ends. Oh my goodness. Now, I feel like Jack was a little drunk. He was buzzing, and I feel like that wasn't really the smartest thing for him to do, to get in the car and start driving. So I'm concerned that there's going to be like a car accident or something, but I feel like maybe that's too obvious and it's going to be something else. I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. Just like none of us are. The only people who know are the actors. They're not telling us anything. What did you guys think of this episode? I thought Memphis was amazing. That episode was amazing. So this one had a high hill to climb, but it was an excellent episode. There were a lot of great moments in it, and I had I can't wait to again watch it again. But I don't want there to next week to be the season finale. I just don't want to. I don't want it to happen. I want this show to go on for at least 5 more episodes. But what did you think? Leave your questions, comments, everything that you want to say in the comment section below. I can't wait to dialogue with you guys. Until next time, stay tuned, stay positive. And then since next week, this show is over. Is there another show that's really good that maybe I might want to consider reviewing? Because I kind of like these chat recaps. Talk to you guys later. Bye.